Today I'm going to try fermented coconut pudding out of shredded coconut. And I want to thank Giselle DMS for commenting under my previous video asking if I had ever made it without straining the coconut milk. And I just thought that was such a great idea. I hadn't even thought of trying that before. So I looked it up, and basically what we end up with is a few videos out there about coconut pudding, not about coconut yogurt, but you can also do it in a way that it's fermented, so that's pretty cool. So I'm starting with 2 bags of just shredded coconut, so that's going to come out to 500 grams total, and this has nothing else in it, just the coconut. I'm putting it in the Vitamix. Now you can do this with probably any blender, but the Vitamix is especially helpful in this case because it's got that handy black tamper that can push it all down, so you don't have to constantly stop the blender and then mix it all in again and get it all mixed up. So what we're going to end up with is a coconut butter, which I have made before many times back when I was eating a higher carb diet a little bit. But I just decided this would be a good way to start so that we're getting it really mixed in there as well as possible, because we want to work with those fibers, but we also want it to be liquid. So after that, I'm adding in 2 cups of room temperature water. And I'll tell you what I think about that measurement. I had to just kind of come up with it myself because there really isn't a lot of information about how to do this there. So I have a little bit of an idea about where we want to go with this in the future. So 2 bags of shredded coconut and 2 cups of water. Mixed it all in. And again, like I said, we're at room temperature at this point. And so that made a nice mix. And I can safely say that it's not going to completely fill the yogurt jars, but close enough. Pretty close, so that was good enough. So I get that all out and going, and I love already the consistency. It's so creamy, fabulous stuff. And of course I'm scraping every last little bit out of the Vitamix just to make sure that I'm using as much as I can. And then next thing to do is put it onto the burner and get it up to boiling. This is a little bit more complicated than previous batches that I've made of yogurt with the thinner coconut milk, because, and there you can see that we're going to do the Subtilis spore probiotic. I am adding in 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar this time. Again, I'm just kind of winging it here. I don't have a recipe that I'm following, so that's just kind of what I went with, and ultimately I think it was a good idea, so I'll stick with that for the future as well. I'm not adding in any inulin because we've got coconut fiber in there that should more than do the job. Now, because this is thick, what you're going to see here is as it comes to a boil, it really bubbles up and makes a bit of a mess, and some of it did land on my hand at one point as I was trying to stir it up, and well, we'll just say that was not comfortable. Didn't do any damage, but not enjoyable, so just beware of that. If you're doing that and you're heating it up, it does make kind of a mess, and it is super hot, so you might even want to wear gloves or something just to protect your hands as you're stirring it. Like I said, didn't do any major damage, but was not ideal. So I got it up to boiling, and then check the temperature just to make sure that we're really where we want it to be, which of course it was. Give it another stir and mix it around a little bit more and get it off the burner and into the pan of cold water. And then I'm just going to stir it and keep an eye on the temperature and occasionally change out that pan of water as it warms up, so that we're always sitting it in cold water. I'm so impressed. It heated up so much faster and it cooled down so much faster, and it was so much less work that this took me maybe just a little more than half the time that it has taken me to make the previous yogurts, so that's a big seller for me. And once we get down to temperature, then it's time to get ready to put it in the yogurt maker. And as I have done previously, I've already got water going in the yogurt maker so that it's at temperature by the time I put the jars in. And once we get down really close, then it's time to go to the body thermometer because that's a little bit more precise. And sure enough, it was where I needed it. So now it is time to make a giant mistake. So can you see what my mistake is here? There we go, putting it in 1 jar, 2 jar, 3 jar, 4 jar. What did I forget? I'm gonna blame my epilepsy brain for this, but I forgot to actually put the probiotic in, so I had to scrape them all back out and mix in the probiotic and then start again, which made a little bit more of a mess and took a little more time than I would have liked, but oh well, that happens. So at least I got it in before I filled all the jars and before I tried to ferment it without actually putting any probiotic in it. Now, yes, of course you could use a starter, but I didn't really have a starter because I've been using up everything because I had such a long wait before I could make more. So now we're filling the jars again with the actual probiotic and making sure that everything gets mixed in really well there. And what you see here is that 2 jars were left over, and also I'm not filling them up quite as high, which is better. The last 2 yogurts that I made, they were quite high, and they did push the lids off a little bit. So it is an ideal way to go to have a little space in the top of those jars so that the gases can move around and things can bubble up and whatever they need to do while they're fermenting. So I do like how the measurement worked out really nicely here as far as how it all fit together. And I am going to put water in those last 2 jars and put them all in just to be safe. I don't know if you really need to do that. I've done it without them before and I think that was okay, but might as well. It doesn't hurt to do that. So then in we go. And we know with the B. subtilis, from what Dr. Davis said in his last video about it, that we want to set it to around 95 degrees. That's where we want it. So I set it to 94 just to be safe. And it's for 24 hours, but I set it for 25 just in case I needed the extra time. In the end, I didn't need the extra time, so I waited until it came right down to the exact minute and took it out and off we go. It's so nice to just have 24 hours because it just makes it so much easier to get through it. So the temperature is great for all of these, and I'm checking it and I can see they're kind of bubbling up a little bit, and they have risen a little bit in the jar just because they've gotten gas kind of built up from the fermentation. So also here what I'm doing is of course tasting it, and it is different. It is definitely different. You can definitely tell that there's fiber in it, but not a bad different, just different. And it does taste like the Spore probiotic yogurt that I've made before, which is not a great flavor, I will say, but I did come up with a way to work with that a little bit better. So I am happy that that it's all working out really well because my gut does seem to really love this stuff. Now, what I did is also put it in the fridge, and this is the next morning, and you can see that it's quite dry. So next time I'm going to add more water. It's fine, it tastes good, and I did come up with a way to eat it so that it's quite nice still, but yeah, it's a bit dry. And this is what happens sometimes when you're filming, is that your cats start attacking each other and you have to go yell at them and get them to back up. So that's my little break there. Hey! 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 Who's doing what out here? Now, what I normally do with the Spore probiotic is I add a little bit of stevia in and then a little bit of cinnamon, because that helps to kind of cover the flavor so that it's more palatable. And I'll just show you what I did with the previous Spore probiotic yogurt, because it tastes the same. And I've just found that adding in a little bit of canned coconut milk, just kind of the watery part, adding that in helps to break it up so that it's just a nicer texture and also much better flavor. And back to my cinnamon. Cinnamon's good for your gut. It does have a lot of oxalates, so if you're watching those, I would be careful with that. But it does help cover the flavor, and it is good for the gut, and that's what we're trying to work on with all of these coconut yogurts and now pudding. And here I'm doing it with the actual pudding. As you can see, it's quite dry, so I'm just going to mix in the same thing, a little bit of just canned coconut milk, and mix it in exactly the same way. This time I did add a little bit more of the milk than I would normally do, so it's a little juicier, but you can actually get it into kind of a slurry, which has a very pudding-like texture. So Either way, it helps. So next time I'm hoping to do L. rhodori and do the pudding again, only with more water, and we'll see how it goes. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful, and God bless.